Today on the Transplant Helper, I'm going to be giving you a brief tutorial, if you will, on how you can get into those patient rooms so you can start making those active face-to-face visits, and as I asked the other day, become a much bigger part of the Transplant Helper community. If that interests you at all, then go ahead and stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome to the Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle. I really appreciate you pausing on this particular video today because basically it's going to be expanding on a video more than likely you watched about a week or so ago, which had to do with me inviting you to become an active volunteer in the Transplant Helper community team. And that was by doing it several ways, but mainly going into hospitals, going into clinics, or maybe when you're just sitting down in clinic yourself, having some real conversations and dealing with people on a face-to-face or one-on-one basis. That's certainly one of the things I love to do, and it's one of those things I wanted to share with you at the same time. But since that time, I've gotten several different people who've messaged me, sent me tweets, email even one of them, and asked me, Jim, how exactly do you get started in doing that? And what do you generally say when you first meet someone face-to-face? Say, walking up to that cold door in a hospital. How do you actually get in the door, and what do you say when you're there? Now, in the first part of that, let me answer it this way. Let me let you know every transplant center may be a little bit different, especially when you're dealing with CICUs or HTICUs or whatever the appropriate organ is. When you're dealing with ICUs, a lot of time there's restrictions as to who can pass in and out of those rooms. For example, a lot of times they'll only allow family members, and they'll only allow 2 family members at a time, and only between certain hours of the day. There are no visiting hours, that sort of thing. You've really got to become familiar with that. In addition to that, you have to always respect that even if the hospital had an open door policy, you could pass in and out any time, you got to be considerate of what the family wants to happen. If the family has put a sign out or maybe put word out on Facebook, no visitors right now, certainly we need to and have to respect that. But let's assume that someone is in the hospital, they've just received the transplant of whatever kind it is, and you just want to stop by and offer them a little bit of encouragement. Basically, there are probably not too many hoops you have to jump through. Yeah, it could be good if you were an active part of a volunteer program with the hospital. That could be a good thing. You might choose to do that. It might give you some benefit in the long run. But as far as this one stop and drop type visit, I don't really think that's necessary. Just like my hospital, UAB Transplant Center, basically, if a patient is well enough for it, it's not a critical care type unit, you can just walk in, okay? Anybody can walk in off the street, just kind of knock on the door and ask permission, and that's the way it goes. And that's really how I start out. You know, a lot of these people I meet with face to face, I have no idea who they are, what they've been through, what they're going through, or anything. I just make a general assumption that if I find them on HTICU or in the heart transplant intensive care unit, it's going to be the case. They've either received a heart and or in some cases a lung transplant or maybe an LVAD. They're there for those reasons. That's all on that particular wing and floor at UAB. So basically, I walk in the hallway, I go up to the doorway, knock on it, just tap, 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 not very loud. I don't want to startle anybody. I really don't even want to wake anybody, but I'll lightly knock on the door a couple of different times, and generally speaking, someone will say, come in. Of course, when they say come in, I'm still hesitant. I don't just swing the door open and barge in. I kind of ease the door open, putting my head around the corner, kind of taking a look, and as I finally get stepped into the room, leaving the door at that point, probably just a little cracked even behind me, I basically say something like this. I say, hey, you probably don't know me, do you? And of course, the person generally gives me a funny look, maybe even not a response. I say, yeah, I'm sure you don't even know me from Adam's House Cat. I just want to stop today and encourage you a little bit and let you know that I've been where you are. As a matter of fact, I tell them I'm a 5-year heart transplant. I've had a wonderful recovery. Things have gone great. So I know exactly what you're going through right now. And I just wanted to pause to encourage you and to let you know I'm available. I add to that I'm a transplant educator, that I spend a lot of time visiting with patients face to face and offering advice, motivating them, and answering questions. And at that point, I kind of pause. Now, generally speaking, when I say that, the people are pretty shocked that anything like me even exists. Maybe they've not even met to that point. if they have on a limited basis, not even met a post-transplant patient. You know, a lot of times post-transplant patients are just what they should be. They're at home. They might bump into them on clinic visits, but that may be a totally different day from what this person has been doing, going in for pre-transplant clinic visits. Like in my center, they see pre-transplants on Monday, post-transplants on Tuesday, that sort of thing, or something to that effect. And so maybe they've not even crossed paths with an official already transplanted person. So they're interested by that point. And from that point, I pretty much let them lead the conversation, because I don't know anything about their situation. I don't know what put them in a hospital. I don't know how they came to need a transplant. So I just kind of let them go. I let them talk. And as I receive information from them at that point, that's when I start responding back with logical conversation. And that's when I start saying, well, basically, when I come into a room for the first time and I'm trying to speak with someone like you, ma'am, or you, sir, I like to remind you how important it is to take it slow, to take it easy, and not to get frustrated with your situation. Because more times than not, especially if you're meeting with someone who's inside of the first week of transplant, albeit they would tell some people, yeah, I feel wonderful, this is a great gift, albeit they might say that from time to time. In the general rule of thumb, they don't feel that great yet, okay? They're positive, yeah, that's a good thing. They have a great attitude, absolutely, but they probably don't feel that way just yet. And maybe they're even having some of those down days, and they need you to let them know that it's going to work out. Now, basically, once I do that, I make a little bit of contact with them. I like to bring up personally, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to unless you wanted to mention me. I like to bring up personally that I'm also a YouTuber, and that I've put well over 200 plus videos on YouTube, all having to do with transplant education and motivation and that sort of thing. And they usually bite at that. Usually by that point, you know, they want some information. They want to know exactly how they can find me. I'm wearing the t-shirt most of the time. I'll hand them a card. It says the Transplant Helper on it. Leave it at that. Ask them if there's anything I can do. Tell them that I know people and that I'm available for them 24/7. Reach out if they have any questions. And with that said, I go ahead, if I can, and slip out of the room. These visits don't need to be too long, especially the first visit. They don't know you. There's some anxiety there. These visits don't need to be too long. You need to let them rest and understand they're trying to recover. So that's basically what I do. I just go in, introduce myself as someone they don't know, and then I make sure they do know before I leave. I appreciate you joining me today on this video. If this has helped you out in any way, how about giving me a big thumbs up? If you don't feel like it has, thumbs down are okay too. Hey, it tells me the types of videos that I should not be making when you give me a thumbs up. Also consider, I've generally got several videos that are going to pop up here in the corner of the screen or off to the right here. Go ahead, you're already on YouTube. Why not keep clicking? And while you're there, hit that big subscribe button beneath the video, and you can be subscribed and maybe even notified each and every time I put out new content. I've had a few people who said they watch YouTube not in the app, but on the m.youtube.com mobile version type thing. If you're not seeing a subscribe button, there's a little arrow down there in the corner. Hit the arrow, it expands the description, and that will bring up the subscribe button. Then you can punch it as hard as you want and become a subscriber and a bigger part of the community. I appreciate you joining me today. Until next time, please stay stronger, friends.